Hey everyone, this is Anirban here. Welcome again to Dark Chocolate Podcast. This is episode 2 with Karin Grill. And she is really amazing and it's nice to have her here. Karin Grill is an email strategist and business coach who helps entrepreneurs master the art of landing emails in the inbox. With over 15 years of experience in the online business world, she specializes in email delivery, authentication, and engagement strategies that ensure get opened, read, and acted on. She shares practical, strategic, and result driven email marketing insights through workshops, events, and coaching programs that helps businesses leverage email as their most powerful marketing asset. So, Karen, welcome to Dark Chocolate Podcast. It's great to have you here. Thank you for coming today.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm happy to be here to talk about email marketing.
Amazing. So, can you briefly introduce yourself and share what led you into email marketing?
Yeah, so I've been in the online world for 15 years, as you said, and so I've done business coaching for a long time. But I
Yeah.
noticed a lot of people were having problems with email. So they weren't getting the results they wanted. And particularly after last year, when they changed the authentication rules, many people were having problems. So I had a little background in that. So I've been able to help a lot of my past clients and then new clients make sure that their emails are actually landing in their inbox.
Amazing. It's great to listen to you, right? So, my next question to you is what's one mistake you made early on in your email marketing career and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake is I didn't start my email list soon enough. So I hear that from a lot of people because they think they need to be maybe a certain level in business or to have certain number of clients or something or following before they start their email list. But really, the sooner you can start, the sooner you can start to build an audience and really understand what they want to hear from you and have make sure you have the exact message for the exact right audience. So I think that's the biggest mistake. I would start earlier.
Yeah, so email marketing or email list building is really crucial nowadays just because social media is very volatile and we don't know when ban you or maybe you are out of the game all total, like your business will be dead within one day, right? So email list building is very, very crucial nowadays for every business.
Definitely.
Yeah. So my next question to you is what trends are you most excited about email marketing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think we're seeing an overall trend in marketing in general that people don't want kind of generic messaging. They want really specific messaging. They want to really get to know the people that they're working with. So, like deeper connections and really building relationships with our audience. So, I think that's just overall, both on, like LinkedIn, that's where we know each other from. I think it's more about really connecting with our audience, talking to them so that they get to know us as opposed to in the past where you could just kind of blast kind of platitudes or quotes on your LinkedIn profile and you would get a response. I think now people are really looking to learn and to understand who they're working with. And I think that's the exact same thing with email marketing, that people want to have the right messaging for them. In the past, you could kind of send a general message and broadcast it to your whole audience. But now I really think people only want kind of the message that resonates with them. So that's really important for us as business owners to really understand our audience and maybe understand maybe the different shades of our audience. Some people want one message, some people maybe want a slightly different message. So we need to understand that and make sure we're delivering that.
So you are saying we should focus more on this segmentation part.
Yes. So definitely segmentation. I think, if you think, let's say, an accountant, so some people who they work with have an LLC, which is one kind of business structure. Another might have a S Corp, which is another business structure, and some might have none. So you wouldn't send the same message to somebody that has no business structure as you would to someone who has an LLC. So we really need to think more about our audiences and maybe the specific differences between them and make sure we're segmenting them in our email list and then sending the exact message for that audience.
Hmm. So as you have talked about this building an email list, so what's the biggest challenge you face when you build your email list and how do you tackle it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people in the past built the email list and kind of wrote about what they wanted to write about, which obviously we want to combine that, but we want to make sure we're having the message that our audience wants to hear and what they need to hear. So we really need to think about what are the problems and issues that they're having and making sure that we can show that we can solve that if we want to get their business. And so I think it's so important that people really take the time to understand their audience. And remember, as your audience grows, your audience may change. So we have to reevaluate our audience all the time. And that's why looking at our metrics and our analytics for our email list is so important to see, okay, what messages are really resonating with them and what aren't, and then do more of the ones that are.
Yeah, more than sending the emails and more than automation segmentation, we have to understand the what our audience want from us, and we will be able to understand it once we keep sending, I mean, at least 20 to 50 emails. Then we will be able to understand what our audience is uh, asking from us or they are reacting to. With respect to that, we can bring some changes in our strategy, and it will help us in overall email marketing outcome.
Exactly. And also, as you know, we have to make sure that we have our emails authenticated properly so they're actually landing in the inbox. And that's been really challenging this past year. You know, in the past, you could just send emails and maybe your open rate wouldn't be great, but it didn't really affect it, didn't penalize you. Now, if you keep sending emails to people who don't open, you get penalized. So that's been a huge shift, I think, last year. So that's I think a mistake that a lot of people are making, even like big name people are making, and they continue to email people who actually aren't opening, and that's really causing them problems.
All right. So as we are talking about this email opening and all, because if people are not opening an email, there is no business, right? So what are your top three tips for increasing email open rates?
Right. So first, like I said, you have to authenticate your email, make sure it's working properly. So again, each email service provider usually gives you some advice about what to do. So at least start there. Now, I think a lot of them are incomplete, but at least it's a good starting point. So go to the service provider that you use. So another thing I think people skip is they don't schedule time in their calendar to actually check their email analytics. So they don't actually know what's working. They don't know if they have inactive or bounces. So you really need to make sure that you're looking at the analytics to know, okay, what messages are resonating, maybe what segments are performing the best. And that maybe give you a clue like, oh, if this segment is performing the best, I want to make sure I'm sending more and even more relevant information to that. And maybe the other ones you have to change your strategy because it doesn't seem to be working, right? So really looking at your analytics and see what's working for you. And then cleaning your list. So many people don't clean their list. So it's really easy. I mean, the email service providers make it pretty easy now for you to be able to remove bounces, look at inactive, and you can even do kind of re-engagement campaigns for maybe people who haven't opened a while to see if they still want to be on your list. Because quite honestly, if they aren't opening your emails and they don't want to be on your list, you might as well remove them. There's no reason for them to be there. That actually hurts your open rate and your click-through rate.
Yeah, people think like, okay, I have 10,000 people in my email list, and why should I clean my email list? Maybe if I clean, then it will be 5,000. Should I send only to 5,000? Then I might not have business there or something like that. But if they are not engaging with your emails, or if they are not interested in your emails, there is no point of sending the emails and just wasting your time and pay the ESP.
Right. And I think a lot of people forget that they hold on to their subscribers. They don't want to let anyone go. They're like, it took me so long to get these number of subscribers. But really, if you're getting penalized by Google and Yahoo for sending, it actually hurts you. So you need to just learn that, maybe at one time they wanted to be on your list, but maybe now they don't. And that's fine. Just release them and let them go. You can find some new people.
Exactly. Exactly. So as we are talking about this overall email marketing, but the main thing of email marketing is email copywriting. Like if we write good copy, then we will be able to sell better. I mean, whether it's a service or it's a B2B business, if it's a product or anything. So as an email marketing strategist for over 15 years, you have wrote a lot of emails, right? So how to master the art of email copywriting?
So I think one of the important things is to really talk to your audience. And I mean, actually, like have conversations with them because only when we talk to them can we really hear how they describe their problems. Like we have an idea in our brain as a marketer, we think we know what their problem is, but often we don't explain it the best way and it doesn't resonate with our audience. So if you can, like just have a couple of calls with people who you know are in your audience to really like write down word for word how they describe their problem so that when you write that in your email, they're going to think, wow, Arnavan totally understands me. He knows my pain points. He's going to be the person who can help me. So if they feel like you're in their heads, that makes them feel like, oh, I'm supported by this person and they can solve my problems for me. So I think that's the biggest thing. And I think that's the biggest resistance that I see from people. I don't know if they're shy, they don't want to take the time. I don't know what it is, but they don't really want to talk to their audience. But that's the key to actually having copy that resonates.
Yeah, so we constantly get back to the basics. That's clear over clever.
Exactly.
I mean, the more clear the our copy is, the better it will convert. And
Mhm.
if we keep talking about the things which they are suffering with in the easiest manner, like a fifth grader, then it will be easy for them to understand, resonate, and according to that, they will purchase.
Mhm. Yep, I think we need to be really clear, like you were saying, and kind of concise, but also really relevant. So, kind of combining those two things together will really get you the best results.
Yeah. So as you have talked about these segmentations, and we have to be very personalized. So how do you approach these segmentations and personalization?
So we've talked about it a little bit. I mean, it's understanding your audience. And, there's so many examples of whether you're a website designer, maybe there's some people who have problems with SEO. Maybe some people have problems with the design. Some people have problems with the copy. And so if you actually start to write emails and, you can have links in your email that people can click and say, I want to know more about design, right? So then you can start to segment the people. And then you can talk to them only about design. You don't have to talk about SEO, which they don't understand or they're not interested in, right? So we're really targeting our messages to the right segment of our audience. And so again, it's really about understanding your audience, talking to them. You can do polls these days in emails, but also even if you just have different links so that you can tag those people on those links and then segment them that way. That way, at least they're getting the information that they've raised their hand and said, I want to know more about design. Then you're only sending them about design. And that's what they really want. And those are the people more likely then to take action. In addition, if you are sending emails like that aren't relevant to them, they are more likely to, click the spam button on you, right? So if you're sending about SEO to someone who only wants to know about design, they may like, oh, I don't want to hear about this anymore. And they're more likely to, mark you as spam. And we don't want that at all. So that's why it's so important. I think even more important now with the new rules and authentication protocols, the low spam thresholds, we need to be really careful with our messaging and make sure we're sending it to that right audience.
Exactly. Like if we reach out to the exact audience whom we can sell a service or product, then we are likely to get more revenue or more profit rather than reaching out to a mass who are not even interested in our product or service.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people with like 10,000 people on their email list and making like no sales, and people who have really small audience. I think they had 139 people and they made 3 sales. So again, because they had taken the time to really kind of curate their audience and really understand it, those were the people who wanted their help. When 10,000 people, they didn't take the time to segment and it was just one big audience, they weren't getting any results.
So broadcast emails in 2025 is irrelevant.
I mean, once in a while, I think it's okay, but I think for the most part, we really need to think differently about our strategy for email marketing. And I do think it is really segmenting our audience and sending relevant and, like you said, clear, concise messages.
Exactly. That's amazing. So, as you have been working in this email marketing industry for so long, like 15 years is not a joke. Like, there are very few people who actually stick with these industries, or maybe they constantly change the industry, or they think, like, okay, it's not happening. Let it go. Let me try something else. So, people don't think in the long term. People just think, like, okay, it's not happening in 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, then I should probably leave this. They don't see the bigger picture. This is called delayed gratification. We don't think the long term that I am here, maybe on X, I will be on Z, but it will take some time. People don't want to pay the time, right? So as you have been on for last 15 years, so you have worked with so many brands, right? So would you be able to share a case study or any email campaign that you were, I mean, that delivered an unexpected results for you, or you are really proud of it?
hmm Sure. So I think one of the biggest kind of things that has happened is with social media, you can get big really fast and get results really fast, right? On the flip side, you can also get restricted or banned, right? So there's kind of the pros and cons to social media. I mean, I see that with email marketing too, but I think email marketing is kind of like your insurance policy for any kind of social media. So I had somebody who had a really big following on social media, but one day on their Instagram, they got shut down and they had no way to contact those people, right? Because they had all their DMs on Instagram. And so they were obviously panicked about that. And so they realized that they needed to have some additional ways to contact people or for people to contact them. And so they reached out about having this email audience. And eventually, a couple months later, they got their Instagram back. But in the meantime, we started to build this email list. And we started kind of with a lead magnet. And again, she used other platforms and started to slowly build a list. And she did, worry that this was taking too long. And I just said, but you built this whole list on Instagram. It took you like a couple years and then it got shut down. At least with the email list, you're off platform and you own this list and you can control it. So she slowly started to build and she realized that people would actually respond to her on email as well. She thought, well, there's no DM process. I can't have conversations with them, but there are, ways that she can. So she started to have conversations and realized that they were more in-depth conversations. So she understood her audience actually better. And so she started to have sales and she only had under 500 people and she started to make sales. And she was shocked because it took her having, tens of thousands of people on Instagram before she got sales. And so I was really happy that we were able to not only just create this email list, but show her why email was so valuable. And it can work in conjunction with your social media platforms as well. So that was a fun person to work with. She had a lot of mindset things to change, thinking that social media was the only way to make sales. But we were able to show her the power and the value of email. So that was a fun person to work with.
That is what I'm seeing nowadays. Every other creator are just focusing on building their email list, just because they're aware that social media is not something which is secure. Like, it's there today, it might not be there tomorrow. So I'm seeing everyone is using a funnel, that everyone is putting content online and they're asking to join their email list to know more, or maybe to, buy some, giving something away for free, or maybe some sort of list building strategies, right? So overall, people are just trying to build their email list, just because they want to have a safety net, that even if we lose everything on in terms of social media, then at least we have the email list where we can rebuild it again,
Exactly.
right? So yeah, so for the newcomers in email marketing, what's one piece of advice you would give to help them stand out?
Yeah, again, it's really knowing who your audience is and what you want to talk about, right? So typically if you haven't worked with any clients, I wouldn't quite start your email list yet. I think it's important to maybe have worked with a couple of people to say, I like doing this, or this didn't work quite as I thought. I'm going to try this. So you've worked a couple kinks out about how you work with your clients. And then I think it's a great time to start your email list because you have some insights about their problems, their issues, and how you can help solve them so that your email list, again, will be more relevant to their problems. So once you kind of have that, then I think is, thinking about, what you're going to talk about, how often, some people get so caught up on how many times a week they're supposed to send or how many times a month. And my best advice is to pick an amount. So whether it's once a week, let's say, that you can do for 52 weeks. So pick something that you can do for long term because a lot of people say, I'm going to, do 3 times a week and they do it for like a month and then they stop, right? So you want to make sure you're setting the expectations for your audience, but also for yourself. So if you promise that you're going to send an email a week, make sure you're doing that. You can always add, I think. I think it's a little harder if you retract and do less. So, really think, how much time is this going to take me? What can I commit to? And then kind of start from there going forward. And then again, I think it's continuing to listen to your audience, looking at those email statistics to see what's working and then do more of that. So definitely work with a couple of people first. Think about, how many times a week or how many times a month you can email and then go from there.
So it's all comes down to this, the rule of 111. Why I want to do the email marketing, who I want to send emails, and how I want to use the strategies, and how I want to bring those traffic or bring those people who are in my email list to make them sales ready, or just uh, tell them that okay, here is my product or here is my service in a subtle way in every email, just to make sure that they are aware that okay, this person has a product or service which I can take, or which I can purchase, so I can solve this issue, right?
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. So where do you see the future of email marketing?
That's a little bit tough. I mean, I think last year was a surprise for a lot of people. Google and Yahoo and Outlook and all the people, when they made this decision, they made it fairly fast. And I think a lot of email service providers were kind of scrambling to figure out how they were going to be able to do this and allow us to continue to market. So I do think it's still kind of shaking out what's going to happen. I do believe that Google and Yahoo are going to try to continue to reduce spam for their end users, right? So I think as marketers, we have to get even better about figuring out who our audience is and only sending to them, so we're not considered spam, because obviously the penalties keep going up. So I want spam to be reduced too. I think we all do. So I think it's a great mission, but it definitely makes our job harder as email marketers. So I definitely think they're going to try to reduce spam and phishing and all the things even more. But again, as we talked about, I do think it's going to be, we have to figure out how we can have more personalization, more segmentation to make sure that we're really reaching our audience with the right message.
So my second last question is, what is the biggest myth about email marketing that you have had to unlearn over the years?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, I they always talked about you have to build your list, you have to have a big list. And nowadays, I really don't think that's the case. I really think it's you can have a small audience and still make sales. You can have a medium audience and make sales. You can have a large audience and make sales. I don't think you have to have that. Now, in the past, that might have been true because we kind of just did general emails and we sent them to everybody. So, in order to get kind of a percentage to actually take you up on your offer, probably you needed that. But now that we've really focused more on our audience, I think you need smaller audience. It's just us as email marketers. We have to be better, clear about our messaging and making sure that we have built and curated the right audience.
So attention, please, attention in this particular point she have mentioned right now, that it doesn't matter that whether you have 1,500 people or 15,000 people. If the list is not engaged, then there is no point of having 15,000. And if the list is only 1,500 in size, and if they are engaged, that means you can easily sell. So focus on engaged list instead of having a huge list.
And we've talked about this before about a lot of people think if they buy lists, then they'll have this big list all of a sudden. But again, you don't know where this list came from, who these people are. Do they really want your email? So again, we always talk about permission-based marketing, right? We want people to sign up themselves willingly, give us their email so that we will send to them. People think it's a fast track or they jumpstart to get, buy a list of 10,000 people, but most likely they're not going to get any results that they want.
So we can call it performance based marketing, that we will ask them, okay, like, do you really want to listen from us, or do you really want to know what I'm doing? If yes, then sign up, and if no, it's all good. But
Yep.
if you purchase the email list, that means you are uh, deliberately asking a cold audience to engage with your product or whatever it is, so they won't buy, of course.
No. And you'll probably get marked as spam, right?
Yeah, and Google will eventually ban you.
Right.
Yeah. So, Karen, I have my last question for this episode here. So, what tools or softwares do you use for email marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to think about this. I usually start with my clients having them think about what programs they already have. So some people might have a CRM, or some people might have some kind of course platform. So I want them to think about what programs are they already using and see if there's some programs that have direct integrations. Like I prefer direct integrations when you can. You can have third party like Zapier or Make or something like that, but I really think they work best if you can have a direct one. I think for people starting out that maybe don't want to pay yet for email marketing, something like MailerLite is a good option because they give you a lot of functionality at the free level so that you can even have a landing page and you can start to build your email list without having to pay until you get to a certain number of subscribers. So I think they have a lot of flexibility with that. As you start to move up and you're willing to pay, I think there's a lot of good email programs, whether it's ConvertKit or ActiveCampaign. I mean, in the end, they all send email. So it's up to us to have emails that are relevant for our audience. They can only take us so far. So again, I always think about integrations first, see what other programs you use and see if they can talk together natively. And then go from there. And again, then it's about whether it's price for you, look at your number of subscribers. But in general, they all send emails, they all give you some analytics, and that's what we really want.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, your goal is to send emails to your audience and uh, offer your service or offer your product. So it's all about sending the emails. I mean, and for me, I always focus on delivery part, like whether my emails are delivering to their email inbox or not. If it's not, then the tool is not good. I have been using Beehive for the last 1 year because I am in newsletter business. So in that case, Beehive is really good tool in terms of analytics and all. And there are so many people who also prefer Kit due to its delivery and easy functionality. But yeah, whatever you have said, it's of course makes sense, and it's a very valuable addition. So thank you, Karan, for coming today. I mean, whoever's listening to this podcast, they will get a huge chunk of your learning, which you have uh, learned over the 15 years of span, right? So thank you again for coming today. And do you have anything to promote, or do you want to share anything you are doing currently, which people can check out?
I would just appreciate if you look at support me on LinkedIn. That's where I am, and that's where everybody I met. So yeah, definitely come and support me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'll just put your links in the comment section for ease, so everyone can check it out. And thank you for coming today.
Thanks so much, Anirban.